what's the technique here, and if you're a photographer, it might be hard sometimes to try and find a good editing software. But I think that I've found a really good one that you do have to pay for, but I think it's worth it. The program is Adobe Photoshop-Lightroom. So, just open Lightroom, wait for it to load up, and then you'll get greeted with this screen which might have recent photos, but just hit import down here. It'll pop up with a window and you'll have to try and find thing, and so you can copy as DNG, copy, move or add. I'll probably just do copy. If you're limited on this space, then do add. So when you're on the import menu, it'll have the source here. It'll ask for drive, so you have all your drives. So Acer is just my drive. It goes into it for me because I have one drive. It automatically goes into one drive, but I'll just have mine. I think it's in my pictures folder. So I'll go to my pictures folder, and then it is so here I have some pictures that I took, and so every second file here will be an EF file. I've already converted to DNG, so I'll recommend converting it to DNG, but if you have Lightroom 5 or later versions, you don't need to, but I'm running Lightroom 4, so yeah, I need to. So just go uncheck all, and you'll have to check them. I know, it's annoying, but actually, what I'll do just to make your life easier is when you're going through this, to make this tutorial a bit quicker, I'll only pick the top shots. I won't do every single photo. So maybe that. Now I'm sorry my video for the screen isn't very good. Yeah, I have it at 480p. But it's just so that you can see it, because I even tried having it at 720p and it was like just like lag. So I'm sorry, this is just how it's gonna have to be for the time being when I save up for a capture card. So select those. Okay, so I've done that, and just hit import. And yep, that time. Oh, and when you hit delete, it'll ask you, do you want to delete from disk, which is basically, do you want to delete from your whole computer? You can go remove, which it'll remove it from your Lightroom catalog. If you go cancel, it just quits out of the thing. So remove, because I still want to keep that photo, I just don't want it in my Lightroom. So go on to the develop tab when you want to make changes to it. And this is taking a bit long to load just because I'm in the middle of recording my screen. Taking a long time to load. Oh no, here it is. Alright, so I'm sorry, my screen recorder is just not working right now. My computer must have a lot of processes running at once, and so it just keeps freezing up, as you probably saw on the video. But I'm filming with my camera, but this means you probably can't see the whole screen and it's not good quality, but that just means that you can see everything that I'm doing. So yeah, just hit the develop tab up here. Right, so the temperature basically changes, basically it changes just what time it makes it look sunnier or duller. But let's just mess with the exposure. Let's see what we can do. That's way to expose. I reckon probably around there. Oh, and all these photos are taken with a Nikon D3300 for your information, and I'll have a link to the model number and where you can buy that in the description down below. Contrast, all contrast does is adds more whites and more blacks. You can make it look better. Yeah, I'll just put that around there. So Photoshop can be helpful if maybe you just want to blur certain areas, or you just want to make bigger changes to it, but Lightroom is more based around just editing the photos, and it's because it's based around that more. I reckon that it's probably better for doing that. Also, because Photoshop, the way it edits on Photoshop is different to the way it edits on Lightroom. On Lightroom, it actually does not make any changes to the original file. So if anything goes corrupt, it's all good. Yeah. Highlights. I can put those to the lowest and then put the shadows up the highest. Actually, well, sometimes that works, but probably not in this situation. Now you have to remember, shadows give you depth. The more shadows you have, well, don't go overkill on the shadows, but if you have shadows, it will definitely make the picture like more 3D, if that makes sense. Whites. Now, a cool trick with this is if you hold down the Alt key, you can actually get to see the exact amount of light when it first comes in. So if I go like that, there's way overexposed. But you want to go down just a bit until you see like maybe a few specks. I don't know if you can see it that well on the camera because it's the camera shooting the screen, but you might be able to see there's a few specks there. Go down around that much, and then with the blacks it's the same except it has a white screen, and already at 0 there are a few specks. I could probably leave that the way it is. Now clarity, all that does is adds a bit more contrast, and then puts sort of like a small like this tiny white outline around it, which gives it more sharpness and looks like it's more in focus, you could say. So yeah, you don't want to bump this up too much because it could add too much contrast like that. That's probably not the best right there, but you could put it up maybe that much. And then once you're finished with the photo, this is just the basics. In the future I'll be covering more things. As you can see, there's a little drop down menu here with all these different things, and in the future I'll be covering those. But a cool trick is your backslash key, which is below the spacebar and above the enter on a US keyboard, will actually preview your original thing, so before and then after, and you can really just see the difference for those. Alright, so on to the next photo. Now that it's of the same thing, and sometimes when it's the same thing, there's a cool trick which will just apply all the previous effects. So if I hit previous here, as you can see, it applies all the previous effects, and that can be helpful in some ways if it's the same picture, but this is slightly different. It's not exactly the same. So I'll just go into my whites and blacks and just double check that they're right. The whites look fine. The blacks, yeah, probably a bit lighter. Maybe around, yeah, it's probably fine. Right, and then yeah, this is yeah, the same thing. Now another thing to take into consideration, when you hit that previous thing, on your last one, if you've cropped it, which I'll show you in the future of this video, the crop thing is up here. You have crop, spot removal, red eye correction, which is when, have you ever had that flash and then you see the red eye, the red like dot in the center of your eye? Yeah, so basically it gets rid of that. The gradiated filter, that like gives a gradient thing, I'll cover that, and a brush tool. And yeah, so I'll cover those in this video as well. So yeah, let's just hit previous on that. That probably looks fine. And previous. Yep, that's fine, and you get the idea. So I'll skip to a different series of photos just so you can see some new editing techniques. Sorry, I just want to edit this one because I'm pretty sure this was my best shot of these pelicans, because as you can see they look symmetrical to each other. Oh no, sorry, you can't see on the camera, that's right. I hope I didn't mess it up before. Right, so as you can see they are symmetrical to each other. You can see their reflection on the water, and I think it just looks quite nice. But yep. it there, comes there. You have to be careful sometimes, because if you've already set the whites and the blacks and then you put up the clarity, that could make it a bit more white and a bit more black, because as I said, it adds contrast. When you do the clarity, it adds a little bit of contrast as well. So yeah, I'll just skip to a new subject so that you'll be able to learn on how to edit those as well as these. Right, so most principles still apply to this one, but I just thought this was sort of a cool shot. You have the shadow, and then the shadow of the railings, so that's a shadow of me right there. But yeah, most of the principles still apply. In this picture, because there are a lot of shadows in those rocks, I'm actually going to leave the blacks the way they are, because I think if I don't have those blacks, it just won't look the same. See, even if I put it to the max, there's still some black outlines, and yeah, so I'll just reset this by actually double clicking on it. We'll reset it back to 0 for your information. Let's look at the before and the after, and yep, that definitely looks a lot better. And I'll just skip through these until I find a more relevant photo, because these are just some pictures of a boat. It's not my best photo. Right, so these are pictures of birds, and unfortunately he's a bit out of focus. But that's okay, because I took about 10 photos, and that's why I always just tend to take 10 photos of each. It's like, I don't have a film camera where I can only take 5 photos and then that's it. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But, yeah, so I'll just skip past this until I find a nice one. This one's okay, but I'm pretty sure I took a better photo up ahead. Right, so I'm just focusing on this one, and because it's a fairly big picture, I might actually crop it. So I'll show you how to use crop. So just click on here, and then this little diamond thing up there, I'll zoom in on it. That little diamond thing up there, that will actually lock your crop to the original photo. So if it's unlocked, as you can see, it can just go around in any sort of way, make it any aspect ratio, but if you lock it, it will stay the same, which can be quite helpful. But you can change the aspect ratio to a custom aspect ratio, or just the standard, so maybe 4:3, 16:9, and all that. If you're like me sometimes and sometimes take a crooked photo, that's okay. Lightroom actually has a tool implemented to change that, and I can't use it on this, but the idea is pretty simple. Basically, you got this little ruler tool that's there, and if I go here and I draw a ruler, oh no, sorry, I just messed it up. So I hit this little angle thing, and then you, if you hit that little angle thing, and then you draw a line across here, and you'll draw this along the horizon if you're doing a horizon photo. If you're not doing a horizon photo, I don't think you'd necessarily need to straighten it, unless it's completely out of whack. But you draw it along the horizon, and of course this doesn't really know what I'm talking about, because there is no horizon. But anyway, if there is no horizon and you still want to change the angle, that's okay. There's this little angle slider here, which can change the angle like that, or like that. So, you know, I just want to experiment with this. I'm gonna make the angle actually like that. And I'll hit done, and not the best photo, but I was just experimenting with the angle. And yeah, by now you're probably familiar with the controls of the sliders and what settings you have to go through and whatnot. Yeah, and I'll just skip through these until I find a new photo category. Right, so here we have a bird. Oh, I forgot what they're called. No, they're not magpies, are they? No, magpies are the black ones. Anyway, that's besides the point. I have two birds here, and yeah, it's the same sort of photo, just adjust the exposure probably about there. And the best time that you want to go taking photos is probably either in the morning or in the afternoon, and that is because the sun is sort of low, so that means that you'll get more shadows, and as I said, shadows give you depth. My grandpa taught me that. He's like a professional photographer. And on the back, before, after, that really looks better. And then, yep, this is a similar photo, so just hit previous. And then all these photos seem to be the same, but I remember that up ahead I have a different sort of photo that I just messed around with the settings with the ISO and shutter speed and all that, so I'll go and skip to that because I'm sure you're quite familiar with these sorts of things. By the looks of it, I'm almost finished editing, except all these last photos are all the same sort of thing of flowers. So I reckon you've probably learnt a bit from this tutorial, and you know the basics of it. But yep, I'll be creating future videos on more in-depth tutorials in the future. Right, so okay, so this is the part that some of you might find a bit more confusing. Now, you're probably thinking, how do I save it? Is it already, like, does it automatically save? Well, basically, another word for save is export, right? So, guess what? Next to your import button, there's an export button. So, with most programs, when you save and export it, the default's usually fine, but you might want to change things like the folder that actually saves it in. So, export to. You can choose a specific folder, choose a folder later, use folder, documents folder, pictures folder, desktop, same folder as original photo. So I'll just do specific photo. Sorry, folder. And then under all edited, that's the folder that I have all my edited stuff. I'll just put Lightroom tutorial. Select folder. Alright. Sorry. Select folder. Put in subfolder. So you can put in a subfolder. I won't do that since I've already created technically a subfolder. Existing files, ask what to do, rename to quality. If you want to, you might want to put that up. I'll just leave it as default. Image format, JPEG, yes. Color space, RGB, yes. Limit file size to inside, output sharpening. All this, it's all good. Oh, and if you want to add a watermark, which I won't do that because I don't, it makes it sort of ugly. Well, that's my opinion. Watermark, you can add a watermark and just you can edit what it says and stuff. After export, you can choose what to do. to Shell and Explorer, open it in Photoshop if you have that installed, or I have a program called Silver Effects Pro, which is basically you can do black and white and stuff. So yeah, all this is good, and then yeah, just hit export. Sorry, I just made a huge mistake. Over here, I have only one selected, so guess what? It only exported one. Aha, yeah, Control A. Control is a shortcut for select all, if you don't know. And yeah, just repeat the same process that I just said. Yep, and that's good. So this will save all the settings that I used from last time. So if you're always exporting stuff, but you just have the same settings, and you don't feel like constantly putting the exact same folder in, the exact same preset in, well, that's okay, because it saves it. Yeah, just hit export. Oh, what's this? Do you wish to overwrite the existing files? Skip this. So yeah, just skip. So what it was saying was because that one file that I'd exported. Well, thanks for watching. I do tutorials like that all the time, so remember, if you want to see more content like that, hit that subscribe button. I'll strongly appreciate feedback, so whether it be a like, a dislike, or a comment, yeah, we'll see you in the next video.